Hi friends, welcome to another segment of Fish Tales, where I, Pat Roach, tell you a story. It could be about fishing or it could be just another story. And today, I'm going to tell you another story about when I got a job at good old sparkling spring water. Yes, way back, I got a job at a water company. And I always tell my wife, Kelly, I used to work for a water company, and she says, stop trying to impress me because, you've already got me. You don't got to tell me that you worked at a water company. And I'm like, but I like it. So I sold bottled water. Can you believe it? The big jugs. I guess they're like 5-gallon jugs or, 18.9 liter jugs. Heavy, they're about 45, 50 pounds. So way back when, I would have been 18 years old, and I was actually going to St. Mary's University, and my good old pal Kevin Ryder, we call him a rain cloud because he's a little bit cranky. He's like kind of storms in like a rain cloud, and he's always in a little bit of a foul mood, but deep down he tries hard. Anyway, he had a job in sales there. He was the key account manager. And he got me a job as a delivery driver, where I just drive a little van. Okay, and actually they called these deliveries at the time, they called them specials, special deliveries. And what it really was the deliveries that none of the regular drivers wanted to do. It was these stops like you get to an office where you'd have to climb 3 flights of stairs with these jugs of water. And they were like, wow, we get paid commission. I want to go to a place that takes 10, 20 jugs, not just one. So good old Patty here got to go deliver the 1 or 2 jugs up 3, 4 flights of stairs. And it was all because they cherry picked the good stops and they made the most money. But I got paid hourly, so that was okay. But the reason I'm telling this water company story is because when I first got on to being on Trailer Park Boys, I worked at this bottled water company. It was called Sparkling Spring Water. And then they bought a bunch of other companies. Eventually they became a national company in Canada. Actually, it was international. They owned operations around the world. But in Canada, they changed their name to Canadian Springs. And it was from coast to coast, right? From Vancouver all the way to Halifax. So anyway, at the time that I started doing acting on Trailer Park Boys, I was the regional sales manager. I started off as a driver, my special driver, and then I worked my way up. After being a driver, I then became key account manager. My buddy Kevin left. He went to sell uniforms and stuff for another company. So I got his old job. And then after that, I became branch manager of 2 branches. I was the branch manager. And then, after being the branch manager of 2 branches, I left for a little bit. I left for a year and I got into business with JP and Rob. We went over to PEI and they had a pizza place going. And then when I moved over, we expanded and made it into a bar. But I only lasted a year over there. So I came back and they hired me back as the regional sales manager. And after going to PEI, that's where we did a whole bunch of skits and stuff. And we'd send those little skits on videotape to our buddy Mike Clattenburg. And eventually we ended up working our way into doing the short film or the film for the film festival. And then it got picked up. And then Showcase said, we want 6 episodes of Trailer Park Boys. So I ended up working during those times at the water company. I know Rob Wells had a job. He was working for this company called Max. They made tubs and showers and sinks and toilets and really nice stuff, actually. And but he wanted to stay on with them, but they wouldn't hire him. They wouldn't just give him a little leave of absence to go do this. So he had to quit. He actually quit a perfectly good full-time job with a company car. But me, I got to stay at the water company. I had a company vehicle, and I just used every vacation day to film Trailer Park Boys, which is very hard because it's very sporadic. Filming, you film a day here and a day there, and normally companies want you to take like at least a week off at a time, you know? So anyway, they put up with me. My old boss, I had a boss at the time, his name was Dave Ring. One of the best bosses ever, but boy, he worked everybody hard. But I'm telling you, you made bonuses. So that's good. When you're getting paid bonuses, you're happy. Anyway, he worked with me, and well, I was hitting my numbers, hitting my targets. So he gave me the time off that I needed. And then eventually, it got too busy with Trailer Park Boys, and I needed more time to do the show than I had in vacation days, and they wouldn't give me any extra. So I had to make the choice then to leave the water company and the perfectly good company job with a company car and benefits and become shirtless Randy. And it was a big decision, but I'm glad I did it. Things ended up working out, and you know, I worked hard for that company, and afterwards they hired me back after we did I think it was our first movie. I think it might have been the first movie, and yeah, it was around 2005 or 6 or something like that. So they hired me back as a consultant, and I helped train a sales team after that. So it just goes to show you, you don't burn any bridges. You know, I got hired back. And it was great to be a consultant just on a term basis. And then that's when John Dunsworth and I started to do touring. You know, we started to do live shows, the Leahy and Randy show. We worked with an agency called Live Tour Artists. And it's just funny, I just actually met our old agent out in Vancouver. He's doing business. He deals with motorcycles and fine-tuning them and making them into race bikes and all that stuff. Dana Kirby, great guy, Dana. Anyway, you know, it's funny. He's doing well, and we're all doing well. So it all started off there when I was at that bottled water company, and I still have friends from that bottled water company to this day. Rob Wells, who played Ricky, he drove a big truck he used to deliver to the retail stores who sold the water. And he could back that truck up like no tomorrow. It was just no problem. Just back it up on a dime. I wasn't that good at backing up. I'd park, get out, and walk. But Rob could. He was really good. It was like a 5-ton. You needed your air brakes. I do have my air brakes. And well, even JP went and worked there a couple times. He worked in the warehouse. Well, he has big muscles, JP. He's very strong, so he could lift those big bottles and load the trucks up for the deliveries. He drove the forklift and stuff. And I mean, a good buddy of mine, his nickname is Chico. He worked there. Another best friend of mine, Potsy. His name's Randy. He's the real Randy. His name is Randy, but he goes by Potsy is his nickname. He worked there too. And you know, we all stayed friends to this day. I mean, most of us all go on a annual fishing trip every year. In the spring of the year, we go and we catch trout. And we used to go when we worked at that bottled water company. As a matter of fact, that's where we found out where this fishing location was. So I have very fond memories of that bottled water company, good old Sparkling Springs. And everyone there was so nice. It was just a privilege to work there. And I'm glad that it happened to be that place, because I ended up getting to be Randy. And now everyone knows me. All of you, hopefully, as Randy. But now you're getting to know me as Pat Roach, the fisherman. So there you go. Another story from me to you. Thank you very much for watching Fish Tales.